Here's a few tips on how to integrate LightWave 3D, After Effects and VideoCoPilot's Element 3D. I've got a list of things I'm using here. So firstly, blatant self-promotion. It's a work in progress, but it will work well for this. LightWave 2015, but it will also work well in 11.6. Ernest Chan's excellent Save Transformed Sequence Plus, which is an excellent plugin for layout. After Effects, I'll be using CS6, Element VideoCoPilot's, VideoCoPilot's Element 3D version 1.6. I haven't yet upgraded to version 2. Okay, here we go. Let's have a quick look at the scene. So this is my scene in layout. PPR off. So very simple two object setup. So if we hop to modeler, here's my logo, which we're just using one layer of this, and a cloud layer. Basically just a bunch of circles. So in layout, let's have a little look at what's going on. I have my clouds in the background. My banner is parented to a null, and the null has some movement applied to it. So let's just take a quick look at the cloud layer. I've scaled it a little bit and squashed it up, and I've also added a displacement to it just to take some of that perfect computer rounding off it. Okay, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to render out an image sequence. I'm going to select PNG 32-bit so the alpha is embedded, and also alpha format, unpre-multiply alpha, so I don't get any green fringing or any of that sort of stuff. Yeah, good. Okay, so here we are in After Effects. Let's get on and build our scene. Double click our project, find a renders folder, PNG sequence, okay that. Drag that down here, there's our render. Looking nice, but the background colour is not what I'm after, so let's deselect that layer, double click here, create shape layer. Oh, just so happens to be on the colour that I want. Lovely. Okay, back in layout, let's send some items through. So let's firstly select the camera, go to the In Out tab, send to AE. Okay, let's do the same for the light. Hopping back to After Effects, we'll see the light and the camera details are there. Just hit you on the keyboard to see the keyframes. You don't actually need any on the light because it's not moving. F11 will actually show you that the camera is moving. So that's good, everything's in place. Quick note while I remember it on the light, if your light in LightWave is anything other than one of the native LightWave lights, then the information won't go through to After Effects. Okay, let's deal with some placement first. I've decided I want a sun in the background, so I'm going to add that now. I'm going to create a new solid, 1000 by 1000. Oh, what are the chances? I'll have a yellow one. Okay, so with that layer selected, select this ellipse tool, just double click on it. There we go. Gives me a nice round mask. F4 on the keyboard, make it 3D. Center it out because everything is based around the 0 coordinates from LightWave. And now let's just position it where I might want it. Let's try something like that. Okay, it's currently a little bit hit and miss as to whether that's in the right place, but it will make more sense later on. Seems to be working quite nicely there. What we could do is quickly create a null, comp size, make it white, 3D, zero that out, squish it down a bit, F12. So that's kind of in relation to that null there, which is working quite nicely. So let's keep that for the moment. Delete it, don't need it. Well, let's just say that I'm overjoyed with the way that sun's looking there, but I've decided that I really want it in 3D, not in After Effects as a flat 2D shape. How am I going to do that? Well, actually, it's very simple. Here we are in Modeler. So as everybody knows, 1 meter in LightWave is the same as 100 pixels in After Effects. So that means we can kind of build our sun object. If we hop back to After Effects, our solid object was 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. So in LightWave language, that's 10 meters by 10 meters. So let's create a ball of that size. And let's have it facing down to Z. It's 10 meters diameter, so we want 5 meters radius. Save that and send it to layout. Okay, it's come through to layout. As you can see, it's a bit big. Here's our sun object there. So let's pop to After Effects. First thing we need to do is, well, we don't need to, but let's do it anyway, is change the layer name to sun null. Now we need to get this detail through to LightWave. So the way we do that is go to File, you won't see it because it's off screen, Export, send selected layers to LightWave 3D. Now when you're in your LightWave install, you will have had a plugin which you can drag into After Effects, which will allow you to do this. So select that, pop over to Layout, and there it is. Now with parent in place off, let's drag the sun to that null, and you'll notice it drag, and you'll notice it snap into place, which is exactly what we want. But you'll also notice it's far too big, but that's because in After Effects we scaled it down. So if we select that layer, scale 45, or let's say 45%. If we pop back to layout, sun, scale 0.45, 0.45, 0.45. Now our sun will be in exactly the same place as it is in After Effects. But obviously we've got a bit of 3D depth there, so it might be slightly off to squash it down a bit. Yeah, look at that, it's pretty good. Right, I've changed my mind, I don't want this in 3D at all, I want it back in 2D, but I don't like the position. So let's select my null, let's look it out of VPR. So I want it sort of, that sort of point there. It's a bit big, scale it down a bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's put that frame 0, delete that keyframe it's created. Quite simply, center AE. Okay, making a note, it's 34.6%. In After Effects, scale 36.4%. Well, notice it's automatically updated. So for whatever reason, if I now wanted that sun on the other side, center AE. Look at that, automatically updated. Okay, so that's the easy stuff out of the way. It gets much better than that now. Let's start with the logo. So select the null, send it off to After Effects. Okay, there it is, great, moving nicely in time with everything else. LightWave, okay. Select the banner, go to the last frame. At the last frame, I know I'm at 0 coordinates, 100% scale, 0 rotation. So what I'm going to do now is export this as an OBJ. And to do this, I'm going to use Ernest Chan's Save Transform Plus. Save, whatever it is. Save this here. Save Transform Sequence Plus. But before we do this, there's a very special setting we need to set in order to get this working in Element. Open up your Preferences, which is D on your keyboard. Go to the Object setting. Object Export Scale. This, I have found, should be set to 4000%. Sounds weird, don't know why, it works. So, frame 100, call it logo, custom. I'm going to put it in my exports folder. Okay, let's call that logo as well. Doink, done. Excellent. Let's go to After Effects. Okay, let's create a new solid. Element. Let's call this logo. Add the element plugin. Open the scene. Import. Let's find our. Is that it? There we go. Great, logo. Here's our logo. Now let's just pick up some rough colours for this. Doesn't have to be perfect. I think I read somewhere that in version 2 it now reads the materials file properly. So you might not have to do this anymore. Okay, the only other thing to do, or thing to bear in mind, is clicking on this. Where's this? Well, there's two things to bear in mind actually. Let's give yourself enough room. Normalize size, click that off. Where it says anchor point, you want to select that from model. Okay, that. So here we have our logo. It's in the wrong place. Let's start off firstly by zeroing that out. So the position 0, 0. Okay, that's good. And then we want to create a null for that, which is basically control for that logo. Let's call it logo control. Now, with our finger on the shift key, pick quick, select the logo null that came from LightWave, and it should, oh, look at that, jump exactly to our render. Just double check that. So this is our element layer. Look at that, lovely. So that's all good. Now we want the clouds. So same process. Select the cloud layer. Now we need to export it from layout because it has some scaling and some positional changes. Okay, so cloud. Let's call that cloud as well. Some frame 0 because there's no animation on this, so I know it doesn't change. Custom. Again, let's go to our exports folder, stick in there. Okay. Boink. Done. Okay, let's do the same process as before. So let's create a new layer for this. Let's call this clouds. Element. Import. It's not the logo, it's cloud. Cloud object. Great. Might be something funky going on with the normals there, so if you click on auto normal it should show up. Okay, good. Again, tick off normalize size, and we want it from model. The best way to show us why we want it from model so it lines up is this center point here. So if you turn the grid on, from model center, which means it's from the center, which means it will be in the wrong place because we want it from the origin, which is there. Okay, that's good. So same as before. What are we on here? Group 1. So zero that out. Great. Let's create. Actually, we don't need to create a control for that because it's not moving. And again, that should be bang in position. Great. Okay, so let's say we need to add some more elements to our cloud, but it's not practical to go back to LightWave for a full render. So let's add it to our elements. What I'm going to do, start a new layer. With the cloud in the background layer, I'm going to use True Arts. Where are you? True Arts spray background points. So I'm just going to add some points to this. You can add whatever you want. Another way to do this would be to add a point cloud and heat shrink it onto your objects, but this is obviously a lot quicker, so I don't want that many points. So let's leave it at that. Window, layer. So that's cloud, that's points. Okay. Now, to get this to work in Element, we need to select all those points and make a polygon out of it. So that's the easiest way to do that. Right, so they've come over to layout. Here they are. Go to wireframe, we can see all those. Let's just turn them off from the renderer, just in case we forget later. Now we need to parent our points to our cloud, so parent in place of, just parent like that. They should have automatically, why do I do that? Jump to place, which they have. In fact, it might be an idea as well to copy and paste. The displacement. Good. Okay, points selected. Save transformation sequence. Cloud. In that folder there. Cloud. Call it points. OBJ. File. Save as OBJ. Okay. Done. Right, the last thing we need to do is create our objects that will scatter to these points. These points will basically be used almost like an instancer. So let's create a new layer. Open up the layers panel, clouds in the background for size referencing more than anything. And okay, subdivide it. That'll do. Save that just for our reference, if nothing else. But then we also need to export it. So file, export, OBJ, stones. Great, back in After Effects. Let's select our layer that the clouds are on. Element, scene setup. Okay, let's import both of those items. So First we need the stones, which we just created. And I've got a funny feeling I forgot to specify the correct output path in this. Here we go, points. Okay, so as before, what we need to do, cloud points. Tick off that from model. Stones. Click off that. Well, it's at the center anyway, but we'll select from model. The only thing that's a little different to do here is the cloud points. The points of which we want the stones to be. So we do that by clicking on that. We want these to be in group 2. Okay. Group 2. As before, let's zero out point 3D object. Ah, look at that. We know straight away we've got control over all those points. Particle look, particle rotation. Actually, it's the random particle rotation. There we go, colour tint. Green. Randomise the size. Make them larger, make them smaller, probably smaller. Okay, that's good, but the trouble is at the moment we're seeing the cloud underneath it, but what we want is the cloud. We don't want to see the cloud, we want the cloud to mask off the stones. And how we do that is we go to cloud, select the texture, all the way to the bottom, map, shadow. Click on that, disappears. Ah, excellent. That's good. Let's just go full size. That's great, but what we all want to, because we have the logo here. We don't obviously want to see it, but we can use that layer as a matte. There we go. So this layer, we've added additional pieces to our 3D object without having to go the 3D render route, which is pretty handy. So far so good. Thought it was nearly there, but it turns out that the rotation on the logo isn't liked, so I've been asked to remove it. So all I do is select it, all the keyframes. I think they just wanted it on the end frame, no movement. Just let the camera just do a simple move in. Now obviously that's our renders we're looking at there, so we'll turn that off. Let's turn the logo on just for reference. Okay, that's not moving. In order to overwrite the keys in LightWave, we need to first create a key at the beginning of the timeline in After Effects, and then one right at the end, and then export it to LightWave. So just to check it's gone through, scroll up and down the timeline, no twist in the logo. Great. Okay, here's a quick tip. So let's duplicate the cloud layer so we can see something for reference. Turn that off, move to the bottom. Take that off for a second. Okay, that. So we should get our cloud back. And then if we turn this into a guide layer, it means should we accidentally leave it on, it won't render. So that's good. But what a very handy little tip for element. If you were now to go to element, utilities, we can actually pick a point. Let's say we want it there. Generate It will now have generated a null for us, which again we can send through to LightWave and marry up a 3D object to that specific point. Okay, more feedback. They like the logo, but they don't like the camera move, so we're going to have to change that. Duplicate, rename, AE, kill all those. I think we could probably go with 2 nodes on this camera. Okay, let's keyframe there. Start a bit further back. Perhaps move off to the side a little bit. Rotate it up. Something like that. Export, send to LightWave. Everything has synced up nicely. And it's a pretty seamless way of working between the two. Send it off to render, re-import it into After Effects, color grade, add your bits, whatever you need to do, job done.